Well, you're raising the dead, or shooting for the stars. Well, you can't go wrong with a Pottymouth guitar. Welcome back to Pottymouth Guitars. You're looking at Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle once again. All right. So, we're progressing along with this gorgeous Pottycaster build for the lovely Stacy Shea Williams. Looking forward to getting this done for her. And man, I just can't wait to hear how this guitar sounds, man. I've been working on this for a good bit. Took me a long time to get the color get it to the color I wanted. A bunch of tries, but boy, was it ever worth it. So what we're doing right now, we got the color down. I'm sorry you missed all those steps because I hadn't figured out that I should be filming this process at that point. But we got as much as we got of this guitar, and we've got a do we have any guitars all the way through? Oh, well, we do have the purple one because I blew the original purple one. So we missed a whole bunch of the purple Stratocaster, but basically I screwed up the purple Stratocaster body, original alder one, and got an ash one with or a maple Strat with a burled ash top. And we've got a bunch of footage of that, and once I finish with this one, I know I'm going to want to go ahead and get that done. I've got a whole bunch of guitars I want to build for y'all, so let's get started. Pulling the epoxy off the lid here. Anyway, so we are doing the clear coat on this gorgeous guitar, and we are systematically covering the side. It's a little more complicated than pouring the top and the back because we got a nice flat surface here. With this, we're trying to get epoxy to seat on a vertical surface, and epoxy is a self-leveling substance, so it tends to it likes gravity. So I did the original covering by doing the pour on the front and just trying to let as much of the epoxy just sort of pour over the sides, and I had an artist's palette knife that I was spreading it with. And then the last video we did, I mixed up a small batch of epoxy, which is something I'm going to do right now, and did some touch-up because we had a few little bare spots. So there's still a couple little bare spots. Try as I might, but as I said, this is a self-leveling substance, and it likes gravity and apparently doesn't want to stick to this guitar. So we're going to go ahead and what I've done, so you'll see little dabs of masking tape. See those little dull spots, little tan dull squares, rectangles. And I guess we can do that to to the above camera. It's a little closer. So what I've done is I've marked places. I took it into where there was a more diffused light. This is very concentrated light, and it's kind of hard to distinguish between something that's very bright because it's wet with epoxy and something that's bright just because it's got a billion megawatts focused on it. So there was, even though I got most of what I missed before, there's still a few little spots here and there, and I've marked them with tape so that I don't have to rely on my eyes under these lights. Yeah, once we get into more of a natural light kind of situation, I won't need to use such a intense array of lights. But I'm doing this in the corner of my living room, so hey. There you go. I ain't got no studio. No sirree. And what I have here is another Icelandic yogurt container. I love the Siggy's containers, but excuse me. I like them because they're pretty transparent. And if I'm doing, if I'm mixing a slightly larger batch of epoxy, when you put liquid in one of these containers, because the walls of it are so thin, it's very easy to see where the level of that liquid is. But that only works once you've passed all this rigmarole at the bottom. So I'm trying to mix a very tiny bit of epoxy. Basically, we're mixing 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon each of the two different different components of the epoxy. And because we only need a little bit of it, and this stuff is it ain't cheap. So no good reason to waste it. And I didn't even use the whole amount of it when I did 2 tablespoons of each the last video. So I'm doing just 1 tablespoon of each, and this clear yogurt container, which is another Icelandic yogurt. This is Siggy's Icelandic yogurt. This is Icelandic Provisions yogurt. And they call it skyr. I don't know if it's really significantly different, or if their yogurt is skyr yogurt, or whether it's something I shouldn't even be calling it yogurt, that it's skyr is something completely different. Maybe it's a different process even. Who knows? But anyway, let me get to mixing so I can be jabbering and mixing instead of just jabbering. And I can talk more about Icelandic yogurt. Whew, boy, right on the money. Thank goodness. I was getting ready to pour a little bit more in, and boom, it's just a touch above that, so I'm going to try and do this just a touch above the next one. Okay, so it's very important that these two proportions are equal. I doubt it has to be equal to the, I don't know, microgram or whatever. But I want to get it as equal as possible because I want the best results. Certainly for my own guitar, but especially since this is for somebody else. I want to absolutely do an excellent job for somebody who's given me money for a guitar. I'm very grateful for Stacy Shea for purchasing this guitar right out from under me. I've been building this guitar for myself and very excited about finishing it. But lo and behold, Stacy Shea Williams' daughter is named Paisley. And when she saw the Paisley on this guitar, and what a unique animal it is, and it is a very unique little guitar. Even though it's actually an homage to a guitar, a Fender guitar, a Telecaster, which is one of the most iconic guitars, but this Paisley pattern is something very unique, and very few people have it. So she'll be one of the few, and there certainly isn't anybody else with this Paisley pattern and this finish, because this is unique to the Pottymouth guitar experience. I'm looking forward to Stacy Shea enjoying this guitar for many, many years. I think she'll make some great music with it. And she's talking about maybe even doing a channel where she takes guitar lessons. Wouldn't that be cool? You can kind of take a guitar lesson along with Stacy Shea and learn along with her. So that'll kind of help, you know, when you have an actual learner sitting there with the teacher. So you kind of have to learn at the learner's pace, which is probably going to be a lot closer to a learner at home. So looking forward to those videos coming out. And that might be a really good idea and a good way to learn guitar. Learn along with Stacy Shea. So I'm mixing this. It takes 3 minutes of mixing in the original container. And then the deal is that you need to, after that 3 minutes, you pour it into another container to make sure that I have a nice consistent mix. So I'm doing my best to kind of work my butter knife here into all the little nooks and crannies in this recyclable container construction. I've got a few little subtle structural features in the corners here to give the little thing strength. You don't want it collapsing when your customer's trying to eat their yogurt out of it. Or as it's being shipped, probably is the more important part. It's having all those little yogurt tubs stacked on top of each other. So, anyway, let's get close to ready to go ahead and pour this into the next cup. Get it sort of moved into a corner. I kind of like using the square container. Certainly going to make it easier to pour. That's going to be a lot easier. And into the ciggies. Now, I'm a fan of yogurt. But one of the reasons why I like this Icelandic yogurt is it's super creamy. And sometimes that's because they're using whole milk. So they'll have like yogurt with 4% milk fat, or even 6% milk fat, I think. Anyway, Siggy's especially does this amazing, it's called triple cream yogurt. Boy, it's just delicious. So I like yogurt. I think it's super healthy, and the cultures and acidophilus and all the sorts of things that are good for your guts. So I'm trying to eat as much of it as possible, but I don't like that non-fat stuff. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but if I had to have a conspiracy theory, I mean, it's not even, it's so dumb. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't think the whole skimming of milk and that whole rigmarole actually does much of anything. And it probably does, because of course I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing about what I'm talking about, other than I'm just a cynical. I'm cynical, and I get annoyed at TV commercials, and 1 minute milk's good for you and 1 minute is bad for you, and I don't know. I just get kind of fed up with that kind of nonsense because I'm getting old. But I was always a little curmudgeonly like that, I guess. But I like whole milk. I like whole milk yogurt. I like the creaminess of it. And I think it keeps better. None of those are based on any scientific fact or any scientific method. So don't listen to a darn word of that, because that's just crankism. That is some premium crankism. And I am an old crank. So we got this mixing up. And I don't know if it's been 3 minutes yet. I'm wagering we're getting close. But I'm going to draw it out a little bit more. And certainly, actually, when it comes down to brass tacks, this application we're doing, it's probably better if I apply this after it's thickened just a little tiny bit. Not to the point where it's this stuff can get kind of taffy-like, and be able to sort of feel like I'm picking up wads of it and smear it on. That we don't want it that thick. But I also don't want it just running off the sides. So I'm thinking, especially since the other advantage that we would gain from that sort of business is some of these bubbles will dissipate. Oh, and actually, I can do an experiment. There's this dude who put his sander on the bench he was working on with some epoxy, and basically he just turned the sander on, and the sander vibrated the heck out of the table, which in turn vibrated the bubbles to the surface of the epoxy. So why not? We've got this sander sitting right there. I've got this table which will definitely vibrate. It's made out of plastic, for God's sake. We can take this sanding pad off. Yeah, I don't want to generate any dust in the middle of doing epoxy. Come to think of it, and actually, I'm going to grab a lid for the epoxy. Give me 2 seconds. I know I've got a couple of lids over here. I don't think it'll fit on... No, this one's not going to fit. Got a too large lid. That'll work. Okay, it's going to get loud. Okay, I can feel the yogurt tub vibrating. I'm actually just, I can put this thing right up against the sander. That's vibrating the heck out of it. So if vibration is the key, okay. I don't know. I guess maybe it looks clear. I see bubbles in there. Oh, well. I'm going to leave that lid on there just because now there probably is some dust in the air. I want to let that settle as much as possible before we start exposing that to it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just let this run. I'm going to give this 5 minutes or so. We'll come back. I'll do another slate and pick up from there, but no cut. Just to simplify file transfers and whatnot. Hey, we're back. Welcome back to Earl Pottymouth Guitars. Welcome back to Pottymouth Guitars. You're looking at Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle. And we decided to try an experiment to see if we could get the bubbles out of the epoxy. And it didn't really work. That's all right. I mixed it pretty vigorously. And yeah, that's what's going to happen. And so, as I indicated before, we've got these little dabs of masking tape. So let's go ahead and start at this one right here, and we'll just work our way around and make double sure that we get each one of these little spots. So this will be the last clear coat moment with the body. We're going to do a little clear coating on the neck. We're waiting for a water slide logo. Might end up having to paint the logo on. We'll see. But we've got I might have to bring that light over this side. We got cobwebs going on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take my glasses off. Isn't going to be any good for my long range looking. Okay, so yeah, here's where we've got this little spot right here. Starting up here, and then it kind of works its way down. So that whole little area was not wanting to take the epoxy for some reason. We're just going to convince it the epoxy is its friend. It's going to protect it. And keep it safe. From Stacy Shea's Rock and Roll Onslaught. All right. Gonna make some short work of this business. I'm glad I did this. I'm just using the knife I mixed with. It's easier than ruining a paintbrush or a foam paintbrush or anything, even a disposable one. Why use one? I can just use the same dang knife I used to mix the stuff. Right. These little hacks, I mean, you'll come up with your own if you do this sort of stuff. And they're just little things that make life easier or help you out when your resources are limited. Yeah, like I don't have a perfectly lit studio to work with, and that's just fine. So I have to bring the body in once it's dried so I can take a look at it and find the little dull spots. And yeah, just marking it with the masking tape so I can do this, get everything covered for sure, without having to cover the whole surface. And with my luck, managed to miss 50% of the spots that I originally missed. So I'm trying to fight against my nature. You know, it's a battle. It's a battle. Oh, don't we? We're all our own worst enemies, aren't we? That's what makes us so dang fascinating. Especially if you're actually struggling with it, man. If you're engaging in life, if you're trying to figure it out sincerely, you know, trying to figure things out. You know, not in the kind of way it's just figuring things out for yourself. Because, well, whatever, you know. I guess that makes things simpler. Well, I'll figure things out for myself. But man, we're in a life. Whether we like it or not, we're in a society. We need other human beings in order to survive. We make ourselves interdependent. We seem to thrive on it. So, certainly I have tons of friends who are sort of off the grid inclined. And, that's great. But even they depend on everybody else around them. All the books that other people have written that they can read. They can learn how to do things that are important. Foxfire books, where would we be if somebody hadn't written those things down? So, as reclusive as you can get, you still need other people. Just to recreate. What survival of the species? If that's something that concerns you. And it doesn't concern everybody. I'm certainly not trying to perpetuate my own species. No need. There's only ever going to be one Wade Rowland, whoever that is. And there certainly is only going to ever be one Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle. And that doesn't mean I'm special, because that's true of everybody. But I feel special, and I try to make my life special. And I do things like this. You know, this is part of why I do things like this. You know? I could have a red Telecaster. I have a red Stratocaster. I have a black Telecaster. But that was before I started building guitars. And had I waited a minute, I might not have bought that black Telecaster, but that's all right. It's a heck of a guitar. I even have a black Telecaster that isn't a Telecaster. It's made by another company, it's Godin. It's a great guitar. But the whole Earl Arbuckle experience is about celebrating the strange things, the hard things, the uncomfortable things, and making them special, making them something unique and extra. And that's why we're doing this spectacularly gorgeous guitar. And man, we're done. I'm so glad that you stopped by to witness this short little segment. As always, I want to thank Make Every Media, Michael Furstenfeld, Seth Cleveland, and Ross Victor for producing and editing skills and services and help. That's super valuable, invaluable. I also like to thank the Health Alliance for Austrian Musicians, Sims Foundation. Look those two up online. They're both Austin-based organizations that help out musicians, and musicians are having an extra hard time right now during the pandemic. Place of business is largely closed, and in fact, we need to keep them closed for even longer because we haven't been responsible at the beginning of this whole thing. And now we're starting to get mutations and variants of this vaccine or virus, and need to take special precautions. And yeah, I'm a cancer survivor. I've had one of my lungs collapse on me. I mean, I do not want to get this disease. It attacks the lungs, and man, one of my lungs collapsed. Just one day, decided to collapse. I didn't fall off a building. I wasn't in a car accident. They have no idea why it happened. It's a medical condition called spontaneous pneumothorax. So, please help me avoid having to get this ugly disease. So, and I want everybody to avoid getting this disease. Please stay home unless you absolutely have to go out. Take every precaution if you do go out. And please be considerate of your fellow human being. You know, we're out there protecting others, you know. Share this with us. thank you for sharing this with me. I'm sorry I got political there, but Stacey Shea would not disapprove. That's one of the things that's wonderful about her. All right. Thank you so much. Love you all. Thanks for coming to Pottymouth Guitars. And yeah, once again, you're looking at Earl Pottymouth Arbuckle. And I love you all. I do. I love you all. Cheers.
Well, you're raising the dead or shooting for the stars. Well, you can't go wrong with a Pottymouth guitar.